now, this isn't about free speech. This is about downplaying one of the darkest days in our nation's history. Your take.
That's, of course, true, and she has a long history of not taking terrorism particularly seriously. In 2013, she did an interview in Minnesota in which she joked about people taking al-Qaeda and Hezbollah more seriously than they took America and England.
Oh, it's so difficult to be Ilhan Omar. It's so difficult. People noticed that Ilhan Omar hates Jews, and then they said it. They noticed that she equated the United States and the Taliban, and then they pointed that out. By the time you're getting to like 6, 7, 8, 9 anti-Semitic statements, people start to go, hey, maybe we shouldn't give this person the benefit of the doubt. It was a week in which there were many days ending in Y. And because it was a week in which there were many days ending in Y, one of those days undoubtedly would feature Ilhan Omar saying something anti-Semitic and or anti-American, because that's what Ilhan Omar does for a living. The representative from Minnesota is very often anti-American in her rhetoric. She is frequently anti-Semitic in her rhetoric, and she receives essentially zero blowback from the Democratic.
What is up, patriots? Welcome back to the channel. Seriously. This segment hits on one of the most unbelievable double standards in modern politics. The idea that criticizing a member of Congress, specifically someone like Ilhan Omar, is somehow the same as inciting violence. This is political malpractice, folks. It's an attempt to silence free speech and dodge legitimate scrutiny by wrapping yourself in a victim narrative. Ben Shapiro nails the core issue here. This isn't about downplaying 9/11s for clicks. It's about a pattern of questionable statements from Rep. Omar regarding terrorism and America's place in the world. We need to hold our leaders accountable, especially when their past comments touch on the darkest days in American history. All right, I want you to watch the full clip below. Pay attention to the 3 specific examples Ben Shapiro brings up about her past statements. We're going to dissect all of it, including that bizarre clip from Pete Buttigieg. But first, if you're tired of political double standards, and you believe in holding Democrats and the squad accountable, smash that like button, subscribe so you don't miss our next takedown, and drop a comment below right now. Is criticism violence? Yes or no? Let me know.
Ilhan Omar and her allies now using a new tactic against Donald Trump and the GOP. So after the president dinged the freshman rep in a tweet over her insensitive comments about 9/11, the freshman rep said that the mere criticism of her was akin to the incitement of violence. The media echo chamber, of course, was quick to highlight her concerns.
The freshman congresswoman says she has seen an increase in direct threats against her life after President Trump tweeted a video mixing footage of the congresswoman, who is Muslim, giving a recent speech with footage of the 9/11 attacks.
Nancy Pelosi is asking the U.S. Capitol Police to conduct a security assessment for Congresswoman Omar. The speaker is one of many Democrats now accusing the president of trying to incite violence against the first-term lawmaker.
Joining me now is Ben Shapiro, the Daily Wire's editor-in-chief and author of the brand-new book, The Right Side of History, which is fantastic. Ben, now, this isn't about free speech. This is about downplaying one of the darkest days in our nation's history. Your take.
That's, of course, true, and she has a long history of not taking terrorism particularly seriously. In 2013, she did an interview in Minnesota in which she joked about people taking al-Qaeda and Hezbollah more seriously than they took America and England. And then in 2016, she wrote a letter in which she tried to have a judge be more lenient with people who tried to join ISIS, saying that, of course, these were people who only became violent because of American marginalization. And then in 2017, she wrote a column for Time magazine in which she suggested that America was rooted and founded on slavery and genocide. And in order for us not to look that in the face, instead, we focused on international terror. This is not someone who takes terrorism particularly seriously, so I am bewildered as to why quoting her would constitute some form of violation of her personage. It would be a violation of free speech or something nonsensical like that.
Ben, just so people know what we're talking about here, I want to play that soundbite that you're referencing where she talks about the way people say al-Qaeda. Let's watch. I think we...
When I was in college, I took a terrorism class. Every time the professor said Al-Qaeda, he sort of like his shoulders went up, and
yeah, he's in command here.
Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah. You don't say America with an intensity. You don't say England with an intensity. You don't say the army with an intensity.
Well, and Ben, Pete Buttigieg, we talked about him earlier. He's the new star of the Democrat Party. He's edged out Beto O'Rourke, and now he's taken that spot in the spotlight. He talked today about the consequences of otherizing people like her. I thought you'd love this. Let's watch.
One of the worst things that's happening right now is otherizing people. And if we're wondering whether this has real-world consequences, look no further than what happened not long ago in New Zealand. And yes, by the way, the president demonizing Representative Omar is part of this. It's dangerous and it's got to stop.
Otherizing, Ben.
Well, very odd, since Representative Omar has 3 times in the last 3 months been chided for openly anti-Semitic statements, and then the Democratic Party has defended her. I'm amused to watch as the Democratic Party suggests that criticism and quoting of Ilhan Omar amounts to violent incitement, where Representative Omar can say whatever Jew-hating thing she wants on a daily basis, and that is not incitement. Now, I agree, it's not incitement in either case, but to pretend that it is incitement when it's stuff you don't like, and it's not incitement when it's stuff that you do, seems pretty irresponsible at the mildest.
Ben, thank you so much. Great to have you on tonight.
Okay, wow. If you watch that whole segment, Ben Shapiro dropped a truth bomb that the mainstream media is absolutely terrified to touch. The central thesis of that clip, that Ilhan Omar and the squad are deploying a tactic to equate criticism with violence, is spot on. It is intellectually dishonest, and it's dangerous to our democracy. Let's break down the 3 points Ben Shapiro brought up, because they prove this isn't just about one tweet. It's about a track record. 1. The 2013 Al-Qaeda comment. You heard the clip. Omar says that people don't say America with the same intensity they say Al-Qaeda. Are you kidding me? This is exactly why the claim of downplaying 9/11 exists. Al-Qaeda murdered nearly 3,000 Americans on our soil. They are a hostile, genocidal terrorist group. America is the country that gave her refuge, opportunity, and a seat in the highest legislative body in the land. To equate the intensity of feeling toward a terrorist organization with the name of the greatest country on earth shows a fundamental moral disorientation, and if you think that's harsh, wait until you hear the next 2 points. 2. The pattern of irresponsibility. Shapiro wasn't done. He laid out 2 other stunning examples that show a consistent pattern that simply cannot be ignored. The 2016 ISIS letter. He references her trying to push for leniency for individuals seeking to join ISIS. Her alleged justification: American marginalization. This is the classic progressive deflection. Blame America first. Blaming societal issues for someone choosing to join a brutal, globally recognized death cult is absurd. It completely strips the individual of moral agency, and more importantly, it minimizes the existential threat ISIS poses. The 2017 Time magazine column, suggesting that America was rooted and founded on slavery and genocide, and that our focus on international terror is a distraction from that. This is straight out of the far-left playbook, and while we can acknowledge historical wrongs, framing America solely as an evil, imperialistic regime is a narrative that feeds directly into the propaganda used by our enemies. 3. The otherizing hypocrisy. Then we get to the amazing cell phone from 2020 candidate Pete Buttigieg. He used the term otherizing and linked the president's criticism of Omar to the horrors of the New Zealand mosque attack. That is an absolutely sick, cynical political smear. You cannot, in good faith, connect a Twitter argument about a congresswoman's documented history to a mass murder event. And as Ben Shapiro correctly points out in his final rebuttal, the hypocrisy is staggering. 317-341. The same Democratic Party that rushes to Omar's defense against criticism is the one that allowed her to repeatedly make openly anti-Semitic statements that actually caused divisions and offense without any real consequence. When Omar speaks, Democrats call it free speech. When others quote her or criticize her history, the squad calls it incitement to violence. They want political immunity, and that's not how a free society works. You can condemn threats against her life, and we absolutely should. Threats are unacceptable, but you cannot simultaneously demand that criticism of her political record be treated as a crime. This entire saga proves that for the squad, accountability is a one-way street, and freedom of speech only applies to them. We need more political commentators like Ben Shapiro, who are willing to call out this dangerous double standard. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did Ben Shapiro go too far, or did he finally deliver the necessary smackdown on the weaponization of the victim card? I'm reading every single comment. Peace out, and I'll catch you on the next one.